don't know if I've told you about the pain in my knees. It's been pretty severe. I mean, at least today, I've had like severe pain in my knees. I'm not used to having this severe pain in my knees. I'm wondering if I should contact somebody, you know, like professionally. I don't wanna act like, one of those people about it. I'm not, I don't generally tend to complain about these types of things, but it hurts really much badder. Neither of these things are working as I anticipated.
It's
Any fucking word animals or what?
Yeah, green. Alright, you know we got half my people.
Yeah. You ever seen how fucking podcast is?
Oh, we got shot a coyote a couple nights ago. He just ran across the road right here.
The only ones I've got to see were like these tiny bobcats.
Yeah?
No, I seen a little big one, a pretty decent sized one, but it was around the corner. I don't know if they come here or not. Oh, but you figure.
Yeah.
You see them all the time.
Pretty neat, yeah. Yeah.
Fucking shit, nice, fuck.
Yeah, probably the foxes already. I don't know. Just ran across the road with
Fucking,
them.
if we're a painter guy that works right there, he said, a mountain lion, he feeds the mountain lion. He said, he's gonna like fly, he comes down in the area over there, and he feeds them, he said,
Yeah, I think we do right now with that. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's all I have. That's all I'm really meant to do.
Sometimes people make use of false guilt, so they find an excuse for closing their eyes to their very real guilt.
Like 3 more hours to go.
It's quite fitting that Marilyn Mossavant's last name in French means learned. Learning came easy to her, considering she has an IQ of 228. Vossavant was born in St. Louis, Missouri on August 11, 1946, to immigrants from Germany and Italy. Her parents never told her she was exceptional. She once said in an interview, "No one really paid much attention to me, mostly because I was a girl, and I accepted that. But the world would pay attention in 1985 when she topped the Guinness Book of World Records list as the smartest person in the world, She was nearly 40 when she shot into the spotlight. Parade magazine wrote a profile on her, and readers had so many questions for her that the magazine offered her a Sunday column, Ask Marilyn, which exists to this day. In this column, she ignited one of the fiercest debates in probability of the 21st century. In 1990, a reader asked her the following question. Suppose you're on a game show and you're given the choice of 3 doors. Behind one door is a car. Behind the others, goats. You pick a door, say number 1, and the host, who knows what's behind the doors, opens another door, say number 3, which has a goat. He says to you, do you want to pick door number 2? Is it to your advantage to switch your choice of doors? This is known as the Monty Hall problem, named after the former host of the game show, Let's Make a Deal.
Is it behind door number 1, or door number 2, or door number 3?
So, would it be in your interest to switch from door number 1 to door number 2? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Most people assume that both doors are equally likely to have the prize, so they don't see the benefit of switching. However, Vos Savant replied, yes, you should switch. The first door has a 1 in 3 chance of winning, but the second door has a 2 in 3 chance. She got so much heat for this response and couldn't have imagined the backlash that would follow. She received thousands of angry letters and said 90% of them told her she was wrong. Scott Smith, who has a PhD from the University of Florida, wrote, there is enough mathematical illiteracy in this country, and we don't need the world's highest IQ propagating more. Shame. Here's a letter from Professor Robert Sachs of George Mason University. You blew it. As a professional mathematician, I'm very concerned with the general public's lack of mathematical skills. Please help by confessing your error, and in the future, being more careful. Don Edwards of Oregon put it this way. Maybe women look at math problems differently than men.
But actually, the people who sent her the not-so-friendly letters were absolutely wrong. Switching your door does increase your probability of winning the prize.
When you first choose door number 1, there's a 1 in 3 chance that the prize is behind that one, and a 2 in 3 chance that it's behind one of the other 2. But then the host steps in and gives you some help by opening up the door they know is a loser. So door number 2 must have the rest of the chances. It went from having a 1 in 3 chance to a 2 in 3 shot at the prize, since the host filtered out the bad door for you, door number 3. Switching doubles your odds of winning. Or put another way,
So yeah, I'll take door number 2, and thank you for that extra 33.3%.
the outcry against Vos Savant was so extreme that she felt compelled to devote several other columns to explaining her logic. She noted that the benefits of switching can be proven if you were to play through the 6 games that exhaust all possibilities. This is contingent on the host always opening a door with a goat. Mapping out all the possibilities shows there's a higher chance of winning if you switch than if you stay. It's easier to understand the problem if there are many more doors. Say you chose 1 door out of 100. The host then eliminates 98 doors that they know don't have a prize behind them. That leaves 2 doors, the one you chose and the only other one remaining. Do you switch now? Absolutely. When you first picked, you only had a 1 in 100 chance of getting the right door. The odds of it being behind the other doors was 99 out of 100. The host then filters out the options for you by eliminating 98 bad doors that they know don't have the prize. This is to your advantage because it leaves the remaining door with the rest of the odds, a 99 out of 100 chance of having the car. Some eventually admitted they were in the wrong. A team at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology worked on the problem, and afterwards, Seth Carlson of MIT admitted, "You are indeed correct. My colleagues at work had a ball with this problem, and I dare say that most of them, including me at first, thought you were wrong." To which she responded, "Thanks, MIT. I needed that." As for that math professor I mentioned earlier who sent that not-so-friendly letter, Professor Sachs later conceded, "After removing my foot from my mouth, I'm now eating humble pie. I vowed as penance to answer all the people who wrote to cast against me. It's been an intense professional embarrassment." Our biggest misconception is assuming that 2 choices mean a 50-50 chance of something happening. This makes sense if we don't have any other information. If I picked 2 people and asked who would win a tennis match, and you don't know anything about them, you have a 50-50 shot of getting it right. But if I said player A just took up the sport yesterday and player B has won Wimbledon, this would likely change your choice. Information matters. Just like when the game show host knew which door had a goat, they weren't opening up a door randomly. So the more you know, the more informed decisions you can make. Vos Savant.
Yes, Sandy. I should be asleep too, but unfortunately, I'm awake right now. I've got almost 3 hours left to go for my obligations here. And then I'll return to obsessive compulsive behavior. And I missed it as well. And yet, here I am. Here I am. I didn't miss anything. It's all fine. I do. I have obligations and obstacles. I guess I could elaborate more, but I won't. I'm not even supposed to be here today. I should have called in sick. My knees hurt like a motherfucker. I don't know what God did to my knees. Definitely wasn't my fault. Something that God did to me.
Savant once said, "People that we think are very smart are not necessarily very smart." She explained they're more likely to be educated or experienced rather than intelligent. What does she think is holding people back from their intellectual potential? She's been critical of compulsory schooling because she says students learn passively. They sit there and are told what to believe instead of learning to think independently. She went so far as to say, "I would rather not see compulsory schooling." As for herself, she never graduated from university, dropping out of Washington University in St. Louis after 2 years to start a career in investment before following her real passion, writing, leading to her famous answer to the problem that stumped the world. There's another way to learn that doesn't involve sitting in a classroom. Brilliant is an online interactive learning platform that helps you brush up on your math, science, and computer science skills. Speaking of the Monty Hall problem, my sponsor Brilliant has an entire course on probability, which explores misconceptions that can arise, including that famous brain teaser. If you're ever stuck,
I'm offended. How dare you?
If you're a business owner, then animated explainer videos are the best way to capture attention. Get more.
In 1901, the English philosopher and mathematician Bertrand Russell discovered a problem, a paradox, at the heart of mathematics and all of science. The paradox specifically concerns a foundational branch of mathematics called set theory. So, in this lecture, I teach you all of set theory in like 8 minutes, and then I show how the paradox arises. Russell himself and many other mathematicians thought that they could solve this paradox, but I argue that they can't, and they don't. So let's get started. What is a number? Take, for example, the number 4. I'm not talking about 4 potatoes, or 4 tomatoes, or 4 hairs. I'm talking about the number 4 itself. We know lots of things about the number 4, like that it is evenly divisible by 2, and that it's the square root of 16, I think. I'm talking about the number itself. And I'm also not talking about this right here. This is not the number 4. This is the Arabic numeral written on a piece of glass, the Arabic numeral that represents the number 4. We have other numerals that represent numbers like this one. That's the Roman numeral 4. We use it for counting Super Bowls here in the United States. The number itself is something that no one has ever seen or touched, but we seem to know things about, and also it, and every other number, is essential to science, technology, and all of human life. Immanuel Kant was a Prussian philosopher living in the 1700s. This painting of him was actually done in color, but I've changed it to black and white to make it seem even older. He thought that mathematics was a construction of the human mind. And if that's right, then mathematical truths are, in some sense or other, subjective. But the German and English philosophers Gottlob Frege and Bertrand Russell didn't like this. They thought that mathematics had to be objective. To refute and counteract Kant's view, they developed a view called logicism. According to logicism, mathematics is a branch of logic. And the most basic type of math, which is arithmetic, could be reduced to just first-order basic logic and set theory. I'll explain what set theory is in a second. They thought that if they could succeed in reducing arithmetic to logic and set theory, then they would be able to answer this question, what is a number? And the answer would be that numbers are sets. Okay, well, what is a set? A set is a collection of objects. The branch of mathematics that studies sets or collections of objects was invented by the Russian-German mathematician Georg Cantor in the 1870s. Cantor proved that some infinities were larger than other infinities. Yes, that's right. The idea is that you could have an infinite number of something and then an infinite number of something else, but that you'd have more of one than the other. Yes, it's wild. In order to do this, he had to invent set theory. And so now I'm going to teach you set theory very quickly, but then set theory is going to run into a terrible problem. It's going to seem terrible. They're going to try to solve it, but then I'm going to show that they didn't really solve it. The version of set theory that I'm going to explain to you in the next few minutes is naive set theory. It's called naive just because it's the ordinary set theory that we can formulate in ordinary languages like English, and it's contrasted with formal or axiomatic set theory, which is formulated in an artificial logical language. You don't have to worry about any of that. A set is a collection of objects, like the set of these markers. There are 3 markers here, and the set of these markers contains 3 items within it. But the objects in a set don't need to be collected together in space or time in order to be a set for the purposes of set theory. So on the one hand, we could have the set of those 3 markers, but we could also have the set of all of the people watching this video who are spread out all over the world. Maybe they're spread out throughout time. Moreover, the objects in a set don't need to be related to each other in any significant or meaningful way. Another set could be the set of LeBron James, the 4-time NBA champion, and the top half of the Eiffel Tower. These things have nothing to do with each other, really, but we have a set with those 2 things in them, those 2 members, those 2 items. Anything that we can refer to, anything that we can imagine, that can be in a set. We could have a set that consists of LeBron James, the 4-time NBA champion, and Harry Potter, the young wizarding boy who does not exist. That set contains those 2 objects, one of which has won an NBA championship 4 times as of the recording of this video, and the other one is a non-existent boy with magic powers. Indeed, sets can even include objects that can't be imagined. We could have the set of all objects that cannot be imagined. That's a set too, and it contains many, many things, perhaps an infinite number of things that can't be imagined. You see these squiggly brackets? The squiggly brackets are used in set theory to pick out the set, and all the stuff inside those brackets are the stuff in the set. So this is the set of LeBron James and the number 4. There are 2 things in this set, a number and a basketball player. On this form of notation, in order to pick out a set in writing, we would have to write out all of the things that are in that set. But that's too clumsy if it's a big set, like the set of all cats. The set of all cats includes many, many things, too many cats to list out. And also, we don't even know all the names of all the cats in the world, all the cats in the universe. So instead, we use this notation, which is read as follows: the set of all x's such that x is a cat. That's called the set builder or intentional notation. You don't have to remember that. The other crucial thing is the word contains. We say that a set contains all of the objects that are members of that set. So this set from before contains LeBron James and the number 4. The set of all cats contains Garfield and all the other cats as well. A set is a many that allows itself to be thought of as a one. Georg Cantor never said that. Someone just said that he said that, but he didn't really say it. A set is a gathering together into a whole of definite, distinct objects of our perception or of our thought, which are called elements of the set. He did really say that, but he said it in German. When Cantor invented set theory in the 1870s, he wasn't just, no. We deal with sets every day. Suppose that someone says that pile of potatoes is enormous. They're not talking about the individual potatoes. They're not saying the individual potatoes are enormous. Some of them may be quite large, but some of them are small, like fingerling potatoes. I'm going to try to find a photo of a fingerling potato or some other kinds of potatoes. Anyway, when we say that that pile of potatoes is enormous, we're talking about the pile, not the individual potatoes. And we do the same thing with objects that are not collected together. Spatially, the world population of cats is enormous. The cats aren't collected together in space, but we're talking about all of the cats as a whole. And we're saying that that population is enormous. We're not saying that the individual cats are enormous, although some of them might be quite hefty. The paradox, the logical problem Russell discovers in 1901 concerns one more of the rules of set theory. So let's go through some rules real quick before we can get to the paradox. Rule number 1, unrestricted composition. That just means we can make any sets we want. Any set that you can think of, that's a set. In the formal axiomatized version of set theory, this is called the axiom of unrestricted comprehension. You don't have to remember that. Rule number 2, set identity is determined by membership. What does this mean? It means that what makes a certain set, the set that it is just what's inside of it. It doesn't matter how we label that stuff. It doesn't matter how we label the whole set as a whole. All that matters is what's in the set. In formal axiomatized set theory, this is called the axiom of extensionality. You do not have to remember that. Rule number 3, the order of elements in a set doesn't matter. Here, for example, are two sets. The set of the number 1 and the number 2, and the set of the number 2 and number 1. These two sets are the same set because the order that you put the objects in, the objects, it doesn't matter. You can see this rule, this really comes from number 2. Number 2 says that set identity is determined by membership. All that matters is who's a member or what items are a member of the set. It doesn't matter the order. Rule number 4, repeats don't change anything. This set right here, which contains the number 1, the number 2, and the number 2, is exactly the same set that we were talking about 5 seconds ago. It's the set of just the numbers 1 and 2. If you repeat a number or a member of a set, it doesn't change the set because set identity is determined by membership. That's rule number 4, which is really just derived from rule number 2. Rule number 5, the description of the items in a set doesn't matter. For example, the set that contains just LeBron James and the set that contains all X's, all things, such that that thing is the NBA all-time scoring leader, playoffs included. I'm including the playoffs. If you only talk about the regular season, then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as of this recording, is still the all-time points leader. But if you include regular season and playoffs, then it's already LeBron James. Those two sets are the same set. It doesn't matter if you describe him as LeBron James or King James or the NBA all-time scoring leader. Either way, it's the same set containing the same one item in it, and that's that guy who's a basketball player. Rule number 6, the union of any 2 or more sets is itself a set. This rule just means that if you take two sets, like the set of all cats and the set of all dogs, and you combine them, and then you've got the set of all cats and dogs, well, that's a set too. This rule, number 6, comes from rule number 1, because rule number 1 says you can just make any sets you want. So if you got two sets, and then you put them together, that's another set. You can make that one too. Rule 7, any subset is a set. A subset is just a set containing some of the items that are contained in another set. And that comes from rule 1 too. If you can make any set, then any set you've got, well, any group of those items in there, that's a subset, that's a set too. Rule 8, a set can have just one member. This set contains one item or one element, and that is LeBron James, 4-time NBA champion. A set with just one member is called a singleton set. One important thing to notice is that this set, this singleton set, is not the same as LeBron James. LeBron James is a 4-time NBA champion. This set, the singleton set containing LeBron James, is a 0-time NBA champion. It has never won an NBA championship, and it has never played a game of basketball because it is a set. This rule, rule number 8, also derives from rule number 1. If we can make any set that we want, well, then we can make a set with just one item in it. Okay, we are approaching the point where one of these rules is going to generate the paradox. It's going to blow the whole thing up. Hold on, it's coming. Rule number 9, a set can have no members. This set is called the empty set. You can write it like this with just the squiggles and nothing in between, or you can signify it with this, which is like a 0 with a line through it, which means nothing. This is an empty set, the empty set, or it's called the null set. The fact that there can be such a set just derives from rule number 1, unrestricted composition. You can make any sets you want, including a set with nothing in it. But it is derived from number 2, that set identity is determined by membership, that there's only one empty set or only one null set. That one
And exactly as enthralling as this is, well, there's always something better coming along. Hoping to find something something based on a true story. Something kind of like this.